You know, Home Alone isn't one of those Christmas movies that just sits around on your shelf collecting dust. This is one of those that you watch a lot because it practically builds the Christmas season around it, and it turned chaos into an art form. But behind it all, behind all the booby traps, the aftershave screams, and the wet bandit slapstick, this is a shockingly wild production story that includes everything from canceled movies, secret studio deals, disagreements with Chevy Chase, low budget miracles, improvised performances, real spiders, and even accusations of plagiarism that still get talked about today. So get ready, buckle up. We're going to dive into 10 wild and amazing facts about Home Alone that they didn't want you to know. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right, so here we go. We're going to dive into some wild and crazy facts about Home Alone that they probably would rather you didn't know. Some are just fun and light. Some of them are a little bit deeper, and we're going to dive into them all, starting with the first one, and that is Home Alone only exists because of a disaster on Christmas Vacation. That's right. A lot of people don't know this, but Home Alone was born out of another Christmas classic, Christmas Vacation, and it was done in the messiest way possible. Chris Columbus was originally supposed to direct National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but after two very awkward meetings with Chevy Chase, who wasn't the biggest fan of the rookie director, Columbus walked from the movie entirely. But John Hughes had become connected to Christopher Columbus through this, and he called him, and Chris said, "Hey, I can't do this." And Hughes said, "Okay, well, let me send you another script that I wrote called Home Alone." The disagreement with Chevy Chase and Columbus leaving Christmas Vacation is what gave Hughes the director he needed to turn Home Alone into a mega hit. But then Warner Brothers tried to shut it down due to the ballooning budget, which was still small for the time. And they were unaware, however, that Chris Columbus and John Hughes had quietly arranged to move the film to 20th Century Fox. So Fox swooped in, saved the film, and the rest is box office history. Another fact that a lot of people aren't aware of is that the role of Kevin McAllister was specifically written for Macaulay Culkin. John Hughes saw Culkin's performance in Uncle Buck and basically said, "That's him, that's Kevin." And he still had to go through the process of auditioning other kids when even John Candy said, "Look, that's the kid that you're looking for." But just to be professional, he went through the process. But the honest truth is the script was written around Macaulay Culkin. The charm, the timing, the natural comedic instincts, they were all there for him. This is one of the rare cases where a child actor wasn't just cast perfectly. The character was born for the actor. There you go. Now, another fact that a lot of people don't know is that Joe Pesci took Scary and Serious Criminal a little too seriously. He had just come fresh off of doing Goodfellas, and Pesci treated Harry like a legit, dark, mean, sinister criminal. He avoided Macaulay Culkin between takes, so he didn't seem intimidating, and so he didn't get overly attached to the kid, and he kept accidentally swearing on set because he'd just come off of Goodfellas, and that's kind of Pesci's way anyway. So the solution was Pesci invented the now infamous cartoonish sort of angry, like frickin' reckony, all that stuff that he does in the movie, really to censor himself. So Pesci kind of took acting like a mobster into a family movie, and it partly works and partly doesn't, but it gives us some very memorable moments and a great character. All right, and next up is all about acting and casting, and it's sort of a two-part piece of trivia here. And the first part is Daniel Stern quit the film at one point, and the second part is John Candy wasn't officially cast in the film. He did it as a favor, that got him paid a whole whopping $414. So yes, Daniel Stern originally said, I'll do the role. He started filming, but when the producers asked him to do an additional 2 full months of stunt work, basically unpaid, he bailed, and they hired another actor. It was Dan Roebuck, but it just didn't really work out. Fox panicked. They begged to get Stern back, and he did thankfully come back, because nobody takes a violent gag like that man. He does it even better than Pesci, in my opinion. But that was the real they don't want you to know moment here. People didn't want you to know that he bailed. They didn't want to pay him for that. They hired Dan. Then they had to get rid of Dan, bring him back. That was a whole bunch of controversy that a lot of people don't know. They actually shot a lot of scenes with Dan Roebuck in that movie, and I don't know if we'll ever see those. But one thing I do know is that John Candy gave a great performance in this movie that was almost all ad-libbed, and it was almost basically just a favor. It wasn't an official casting. So much so that he did it for the measly sum of $414 and worked 23 hours straight, and most of his lines were just completely improvised. It was a great late career moment for John Candy that got him paid less than the pizza boy in the movie. Now, next up is a fact that gives me the creeps, and that is that the tarantula scene was 100% real. Like, look, this was filmed in the late 80s. It came out in 1990. They didn't have the technology to make that spider look real, a fake one look real. So Daniel Stern agreed to let them put a live tarantula on his face, but there's another little controversy here. He couldn't scream at full volume or he'd terrify the spider and make it bite him. So this was all done in one take, one spider, one legendary moment that actually has some controversy, because there is the story that he could not scream because it would make the spider bite him. But in that the whole scream was put in post. But later, Daniel Stern said that he screamed. So in live interviews. So we don't know which one it is. It sounds pretty legit, but it could just be Daniel Stern screaming after the fact, or right there. I promise if you put a spider on my face, I'd scream. But either way, we got a legendary moment that was 100% real. Now, next up is a couple of things, and one of them they don't really mind if you know, and the other part of this one they don't want you to know about at all, and they don't want you to talk about, and that is, well, let's start with the positive first. Die Hard inspired Home Alone. Chris Columbus has openly said that the idea of creating a family-friendly Die Hard was a big influence. A lone hero, a break-in, elaborate traps, criminals getting wrecked, but all with a comedic spin on the action violence. But here is the controversy. There was another film that came out just a year or so before they started filming on Home Alone, called Deadly Games, Dial Code Santa Claus. And this is a French film. It was released in 1989 and has a very similar plot. You have a kid alone at home on Christmas. He is forced to defend himself from invaders. He does so by creating elaborate traps using household items that beat up the intruder. So fans have accused Home Alone of copying it for a long time, basically since it came out. There's been no court cases ever filed or anything like that, and the producers, writers won't comment. They deny it, but the similarities are undeniable. Check it out if you haven't. It's a little bit of controversy here, one they definitely don't want you to know. Now, the next one you probably could have guessed, but they don't like to talk about it, and that is that the stunts would have 100% killed a real human being. Medical professionals have analyzed the movie over and over again and concluded Harry and Marv would have died at least 7 to 9 times in this movie. Paint cans, blow torches, irons to the face, bricks from 3 stories up. These aren't just gags, they are fatal blows. They would have taken these people out. The Wet Bandits, so they basically just become Looney Tunes characters in live action, because in reality, they would have been long gone after one of the first 2 or 3 big hits that Kevin gave them. Now, the next fact, we're in our top 3 here, and that is that Angels with Filthy Souls was completely fake. The movie within the movie is fake. The black and white gangster film that Kevin watches was actually filmed in a single day on a tiny set, but it is so convincing that people still ask what that old movie came from. Like, what movie was that? It's not vintage. It's brand new, made to look old just for Home Alone. But keep the change, you filthy animal, became one of the cultural catchphrases from a fake movie inside a real movie. Now, I think the next one is one that people are pretty surprised about, and that is that Kevin's famous aftershave scream was completely improvised. The total that we know that is so iconic, the scream with the hands on the side of the face, the script basically just told Kevin to apply aftershave, then scream after removing his hands. But Calkins slapped his hands to his face and held them there, creating the iconic image that defined the marketing campaign and launched 1,000 parodies over the years. Pure kid instinct, pure cinematic magic that has lasted and lasted. And our final little fun wild fact here is that even on a very small budget for the time, Home Alone became the highest grossing comedy for over 20 years. It earned nearly $500 million worldwide in 1990, which adjusted for inflation is absolutely massive. We're talking over $1 billion at this point. And for decades, nothing could beat it at the box office with that amount of power. Not Jim Carrey, not Adam Sandler in their heyday, not even the big 2000s comedies. It was not just a hit. This movie was a once-in-a-generation film, and that is why it is so ingrained in our nostalgia, our memories, pop culture, and that is why we relive it and cherish it every year at Christmas again and again and again. So there you go, you filthy animals. 10 wild, chaotic, unbelievable facts about Home Alone they definitely didn't want you to know. At least most of them they didn't. But let me know in the comments which one of these. Did you know all these already? Let me know. I could have gone on and on about this. I wanted to keep it shorter. I kind of wedged it in a little bit longer. But if you enjoy these kind of videos, I had a big one on Christmas Vacation. I have a few more planned for the Christmas season on some of our favorite Christmas movies of all time. And if that's something you like, let me know in the comments, and I can always do more. I love movie trivia. I am a film teacher. I am a professional filmmaker, so this stuff is right up my alley. And if it is yours, please like and subscribe. You can consider joining the Patreon if you want to do more and get your name in lights on every single video, behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking, special members only videos, and so much more. We have a lot of Christmas content, all kinds of lists, rankings, movie deep dives, nostalgia videos, all that stuff over the Christmas and holiday season here, and even more beyond. We do movies, nostalgia, pop culture year-round here, and I love sharing it with you. But we have the Christmas countdown coming, and I hope you enjoyed this. And until next time, be kind, rewind. Like always, this is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye, and Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. I know.